on the defense and security front. Former Philippine Finance Secretary Cathy Teves joins us live to weigh in on other possible developments. As tariff uncertainty looms, the Securities and Exchange Commission doubles down on red tape. SEC Chairman Francis Lim cuts the slack, speeding up ease of doing business.
Able to approve an application or disapprove an application within that timeline internally agreed upon, the application will be deemed approved for if there are no deficiencies from the applicant.
And Jollibee Group Foundation marks its 20th year, envisioning greater impact ahead. Gisela Tiongsos, President and Executive Director of Jollibee Group Foundation, joins us live. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth reaffirms America's commitment to its mutual defense treaty with the Philippines. In his meeting with President Bongbong Marcos at the Pentagon, Hegseth said the agreement now covers armed attacks on military forces, aircraft, and even public vessels like Coast Guard ships anywhere in the Pacific, including the West Philippine Sea. He stressed that while the U.S. seeks peace through cooperation, it remains ready to respond to threats. The U.S. is also looking to expand joint exercises like Balikatan and is eyeing the deployment of advanced missiles and unmanned systems in the region. Marcos, for his part, highlighted the importance of the alliance, calling the treaty the cornerstone of the Philippines-U.S. defense cooperation.
As it has been described before, you cannot limit Philippine-American relationship to one dimension. The United States is our only treaty partner, and the Mutual Defense Treaty continues to be the cornerstone of that relationship, especially when it comes to defense and security cooperation. We must continue to be in discussion. We must continue to evolve that relationship as the circumstances, the context in which we operate has evolved.
Meanwhile, the Philippine government is working with the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command to use EDCA sites for relief efforts amid heavy rains and flooding brought on by the southwest monsoon. Philippine Defense Secretary Gilbert Eudoro, who's currently in Washington for bilateral talks, said Marcos has been monitoring the situation in the Philippines around the clock and personally instructed him to oversee the government's response to Typhoon Krising.
Umasa po kayo na 24/7 po nakatutok ang ating Pangulo at dito po sa Amerika, nandito po ang ating mga counterparts, ang US Indo-PACOM, kung saan nakikipag-usap kay General Bronner upang saan pwede makipagtulungan. Nandiyan na rin po ang Japan at iba pang mga kaalyado natin.
Philippine Ambassador to the U.S., Jose Manuel Romualdez, says several companies are lining up to join the Luzon Economic Corridor. Speaking to the Philippine media delegation in Washington, Romualdez said President Marcos will meet potential investors during his U.S. visit. The envoy, though, did not name specific companies. Announced during last year's trilateral summit, the Luzon Economic Corridor is a partnership with the U.S. and Japan designed to connect Subic, Clark, Manila, and Batangas with high-impact infrastructure, including ports and railways. Finance Secretary Ralph Rector earlier said the corridor could position the Philippines as Asia's top export manufacturing destination. Guest says, regardless of what tariff level is imposed in the Philippines, we should remain focused on getting our own house in order to further strengthen our own resilience. With us now for more is former Philippine Finance Secretary Gary Teves. Good to see you, Gary. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Cathy. It's been a long time.
It has
Thank
been.
you very much for the invitation.
So what core principles should President Marcos and the Philippine team uphold to pursue a genuinely win-win trade agreement with the U.S.?
Well, one is to see if we can still get a concession from the U.S. to bring down our tariff rates. Initially, they came in with 17.5%, then 10%, now back to 20. Our trade imbalance, U.S. trade imbalance with the U.S. with us is not too big, and we've had a long history of economic and political relationships. All this, I think, should be considered. But whatever happens, there's nothing we can do with the final decision of the U.S. Then I think internally we should really try to, as you mentioned earlier, put our fiscal house in order so that we can still be resilient despite larger tariff rate. And besides, export does not account for a very large component of the economy. No, it's really household consumption followed by investment. But anyway, we wish the team of the president and the trade team to see if they can get some concession.
Yeah, between
And we should
concessions
probably-
and leverage, Secretary Gary, how much of a leverage does the Philippines have as a defense treaty partner of the U.S.?
Not really very much, because if they're looking into trying to increase the budget for military spending to share in the spending of the military here in the Philippines, I mean, as my preference as a student of economics and finance is I'd rather see resources channeled to other sectors like education and health. No? So I think the concession, if any, will be in the field of agriculture. Instead of the minimum access volume, we can open up a bit of our agricultural products, lowering the tariff duties. Of course, this will become a concern to our agricultural sector, but in the end, it will still be helpful because these agricultural products coming from the U.S. will be brought in at a lower cost, and this will benefit our consumers. No?
Well, let me pick up on agriculture very importantly, because the farmers and the fisher folk are concerned that agri-fisheries will be used as a bargaining chip and potentially be devastating for the Filipino farmers. I mean, you've served as president and CEO of Land Bank of the Philippines before you were Secretary of Finance. What is your take on the agricultural sector's concern?
Yes, one is, unfortunately, we've been quite centered on helping the rice sector. I think we need to diversify a bit, Cathy, no? So this is what I thought might address your concern, that the budget for the Department of Agriculture should be also spread to other sectors, and including that will be more investment in research, in physical and digital infrastructure, modernizing agriculture. So we don't want a situation where we're isolating the farmers, constantly and continuously protecting them. We have to reinforce and reinvigorate them by modernizing them. And of course, this will include a very difficult reform, but it's important to allow for a larger retention limit. In the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program, we have only allowed 5 hectares to be later sold to non-agricultural beneficiaries. It's difficult to really consolidate a series of 5 hectares. So we need larger pieces of land to be able to mechanize some of them, because data have shown that actually productivity has gone down with the breakdown of farms into small sizes. No.
Well, looking at it another way, what key pitfalls must the Philippine team avoid to prevent one-sided agreements?
Well, well, of course, if they really look at the Philippines as a major ally in their overall defense concern in the Asia Pacific, then that's one component. Secondly, if you add the services instead of just merchandise exports, Cathy, I think the U.S. is not too badly affected by this trade treaty. And I said 4 billion trade deficit is not really very big. So I would say that we can open up the agricultural sector. That is one area that I think we can do some stretching.
Outside of the negotiations, you've spoken about resilience, and the World Bank offers another approach, that the Philippines restore the fiscal space lost during the pandemic to allow the government to respond more effectively to the economic shocks and uncertainties, such as shifting tariff policies. What is your view?
Yes, I think we should continue with our our fiscal consolidation program, Cathy, because like a family, we really need to make sure that we are putting our resources in the right places, uh, prioritizing the more basic, the ones that are urgently needed by Filipinos, like the food sector. We have not really put a lot of effort developing our agricultural and industry sectors. We've been developing the services sector. In the era of protectionism, we're looking at our country with the opportunity, given this difficult situation. We have a very large domestic market. Our economy is really governed by consumption, household consumption, expenditure. So we must make sure that prices of goods and services are really kept at a low level. And interest rates are also very attractive to our small, medium, and micro enterprises. All of this taken together are really associated with putting our fiscal house in order. And in that area, the president and the government should really focus on ensuring that there's a lot of accountability now in passing the 2026 budget. The 2025 budget was rather a very sad exercise of lack of accountability.
And also ease of doing business. That's one key problem that the SEC chair himself, Francis Lim, I just spoke to him about 24 hours ago, and he did mention doubling down on all the approvals because red tape is the single biggest problem deterring foreign and local investors in setting shop here. How important is this at a time of global policy uncertainty?
Yeah, we agree with that. In fact, I was talking with some of our colleagues that maybe, except for a few areas now that are developed, subject to further studies, Cathy, we should probably convert the entire country into a big economic zone so we can handle some of the difficulties associated with the LGUs. No? But anyway, ease of doing business, reducing the cost of doing business, all of these are extremely important. Given the fact that we were unable to handle or get our advocacy approved by Congress, which is to open up the economy by removing the restrictive economic provisions in the Constitution. Ease of doing business and reducing the cost of doing business are the practical way of encouraging more direct investment at the moment.
And if we do open the country to economic zones, then that would be at least 7,000 beaches, beautiful beaches here. Thank you so much, former Finance Secretary Gary Teves, joining us for your insights.
Thank you very much, Cathy. Take care.
Now, 2 people are confirmed dead from the combined effects of Habagat and Tropical Cyclone Krising. According to the NDRRMC, 4 other deaths are being validated, while 1 is confirmed injured and 6 are reportedly missing. More than 3,000 have been preemptively evacuated, while more than 82,000 are displaced and are now in evacuation centers. Classes in all levels and government work in Metro Manila and other parts of southern Luzon remain suspended. Meanwhile, Meralco assured its customers of prepared crew and personnel in responding to possible concerns in electricity service. The power distributor also called on the public to observe safety measures in electrical devices during flooding. These include ensuring electrical wires are dry, mud and dirt from the main circuit fuses are removed, and flood-damaged appliances are checked and licensed by the electrician. As policymakers debate how to regulate online gambling, the newly installed chair of the Securities and Exchange Commission says he is not in favor of its outright prohibition. Speaking along conversation thought leaders, Francis Lim acknowledged the government's role in protecting vulnerable sectors from harboring a gambling addiction. But he said a complete ban is not the way forward.
We have to protect first our children from getting used to online gambling. Okay, we have to protect our the less fortunate members of society, because the temptation is there to make good, quick money, and we have to protect our overseas Filipino workers, because again, it's digital. It's so easy to play the games, no, and you know, and I'm not saying that these people, this bunch of persons cannot protect themselves, but as regulators, I think we have some moral, if not legal, obligation to protect them. It's not also good to totally ban them. For example, what I have in mind, no, if we can have a minimum deposit in your e-wallet before being allowed to gamble online, no, to play those games. For example, 50,000 at least in your e-wallet, so that you protect the children, the school children, protect the students, you protect the OFWs, no, so that you make it hard for them, no. It's not that we're dictating on them, but I think we have to have an environment where everybody is happy, balancing things.
Lim, the former president of the Philippine Stock Exchange who took over the SEC on June 10th, is eyeing to cut bureaucratic red tape and promote ease of doing business. He says the new policies instituted at the SEC would stand to benefit over 4,500 firms.
Now, we're not a revenue generating agency. We're supposed to develop, no, the capital markets. We're supposed to make information in the SEC available to the investing public, so that they can make good investment decisions. And that's the reason why, in one go, we reduce reproduction cost of SEC documents or SEC-based documents by 50%. And another, I think another directive was to minimize bureaucratic red tape. That we did by, what do you call this, adopting a DIM-approved policy, where we internally agreed on reasonable timelines. And if we are not able to approve an application or disapprove an application within that timeline internally agreed upon, the application will be deemed approved for if there are no deficiencies from the applicant.
Catch our full interview with Lim in his first one-on-one interview as SEC Chair on Long Conversation Thought Leaders, only here on One News this coming Thursday. GSIS President and General Manager Vic Veloso confirms to Money Talks that he has been served a preventive suspension by the Office of the Ombudsman. Veloso, though, has declined to speak any further until his counter-affidavit has been acknowledged by the anti-graft court. The suspension reportedly comes after the controversial 1.4 billion peso preferred shares investment by GSIS in renewable energy firm Alt Energy. An anonymous complaint was filed against Veloso and other GSIS executives. And you're watching Money Talks. Coming right up, Meralco's MGen is set to develop a 49-megawatt battery energy storage system in Cebu. And Gisela Tiongson of Jollibee Group Foundation talks about their farmer livelihood recovery program. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back to Money Talks. I'm Cathy Yang. U.S. stocks ended Monday's session mixed, with the S&P 500 closing above 6,300 for the first time. The Dow edged lower, slipping by less than 0.1%. The S&P 500 rose by over 0.1%, and the Nasdaq by nearly 0.4%. The benchmark 10-year Treasury yield slightly ticked down to 4.37%. Gold notched its biggest gain in a month, closing yesterday Monday at $3,401 per troy ounce, up 1.5%. U.S. futures are signaling gains when the markets open later tonight Manila time. The Dow is up by more than 0.1%, and the S&P by less than 0.1%. The Nasdaq, meanwhile, is trading flat. And Asian markets are mostly up in the first hours of trading. The Australian ASX 200 rises by 0.1%. And Japan's Nikkei 225 resumes trading up by 0.25%. South Korea's Kospi ticks down by over 0.25%. And a quick check on the Philippine markets as trading gets going at the Philippine Stock Exchange. The index opens this Tuesday higher by 0.2% at 6,365. Bargain hunting lifting the PSEI on Monday amid global developments, closing higher by over 0.75%. And the broader all-shares index rose by nearly 0.5%. Sectoral indexes were mixed, with holding firms leading gainers, while only mining and oil ended down. As for the Philippine peso, it opens today, Tuesday, stronger at 57.03 to the dollar. The peso closed yesterday, Monday, a tad weaker at 57.18 against the greenback. As for the 10-year government bond yields, they've inched up to 6.28% from its previous 6.27%. Meralco Power Gen Corporation is set to develop a 49-megawatt battery energy storage system in Toledo, Cebu. MGen said the first phase of the facility is scheduled to be completed by 2026. The whole project's completion is slated by 2027. MGen President and CEO Emmanuel Rubio said the facility is part of their commitment to accelerate the country's energy transition, adding that this is critical in managing variability in supply and demand, particularly in integrating more renewable energy in the country's power system. Jollibee Group Foundation marks its 20th year, envisioning greater impact ahead with its partners. With us now is Gisela Tiongson, President and Executive Director of Jollibee Group Foundation. So good to see you, Gisela. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you, thank you, Cathy, for having us.
All right. I can imagine all hands on deck now with the disaster relief operations, with the red rain warning overnight and the floodings all over. I mean, what have you got planned when it comes to food aid? A quick response mechanism for feeding.
Yes. Food Aid is our flagship program for disaster response. This came out from the Typhoon Haiyan in 2013, where we really realized the importance of hot meals, especially, when families are wet and they're trying to look for safety, and a hungry stomach it's very difficult to think about your future. So what we have done, and because our interest here is to provide quick and effective response right away, we have actually pre-positioned food packs with our partners. So we have about 60 partners nationwide. They already have what we call our congee mix, and that it's ready to be served. We just need to add rice and water, and they can serve hot meals to our communities. So since last night, my team has been checking on our partners and seeing how they are. Of course, most of them are also affected, so they're still trying to get things set up. But we're really hopeful that within 48 hours, those hot meals can already be served to our affected kababayans.
Do you think it might be a big operation, Gisela, given the extent of the flooding that's gone on only in Metro Manila?
Yeah, it's actually sad to see, many photos, many images. But I'm also happy to note that a lot of our local government units also are prepared. You can see that many of them are already pre-positioning also the emergency shelter, the evacuation center, and that's really good. I'm really happy that everyone is on their toes in this difficult period. Marikina, I heard, was already doing preemptive evacuation last night. So that puts us in a much better position this time around.
You know, Secretary Gary Teves and I were just talking a moment ago about the importance of making resilient our economy, and a big part of that is agriculture. A significant issue for farmers is how they can be more resilient against these climate-related impacts. So what are the foundation's efforts towards that end, with food as the core product of the business?
Right. So our vision in the foundation is to enable Filipino families have access to food. So on one hand, during calamities, you make hot meals available, but we also want to ensure that our own Filipino families are able to buy and access their own food. And as you know, hunger is actually highest in poorer, in agriculture areas. Our farmers who grow our food are in fact the one who are most food insecure. So since 2007, we have actually started linking smallholder farmers directly to the supply chain of the Jollibee Group. We organize and train them on agro-entrepreneurship, imbue them with the values also of the company on excellence, integrity, and all of that. And so for the past 15 years, we have helped organize more than 30 farmer groups that have delivered directly to the company in terms of onions, bell pepper, salad tomato, ginger, and calamansi. And we're very happy that that has really ensured, a sure market for the farmer is very important because now he can start planning for the future. But aside from that,
Yeah,
of
but
course,
in terms of metrics, Gisela, maybe you could fill us in on how you exactly track the long-term impact in your programs. I mean, it's gone on for 20 years, not just in economic terms, but in health, ecological outcomes, or even social cohesion.
yes. Well, in terms of the economic aspect, so every year, what we try to track is how the farmers are actually able to earn more because of the margin that they get from the company versus if they were sell to the community. But for the more long-term impact, we're actually currently doing an impact study by the University of the Philippines to exactly see what would be the results of it in the areas of, as you said, social cohesion, organizational development, and even leadership development for the farmers. But offhand, from anecdotal stories, many of them are in fact able to send their children to school. But more importantly, and I think this is really a good sign, they're actually encouraging their children to continue farming because they see that there is money there, that they can really live a good life. So that's one thing that we're really happy about.
Yeah, and as Jollibee Foods Corp said, it is assessing the impact of the reciprocal tariffs in the business. How is the foundation moving in lockstep with the current risks, including supply chain disruptions?
Yes. So while we started the program primarily to help the smallholder farmers get a stable income, over time we also see the value of it from the company side because now we have a stable supply source, at least for the vegetables that we need. And more importantly, the quality that we're actually getting is far better because it comes directly from the farm. So this is actually our way also of the foundation to make sure that whatever strengths and expertise are in the company that has helped it succeed is also made available to the communities that we serve. It's what we call shared success. So whatever we do, the farmer's life is transformed, but at the same time, our supply chain becomes stronger, more resilient, and more importantly, more inclusive.
Well, do take care with you and your team going out there and beginning the relief operations with Typhoon Crising and the Habagat. Thank you so much for
Thank
joining us.
you.
Gisela Tiongson of Jollibee Group Foundation. And before we go, the Korean Cultural Center in the Philippines is bringing K-pop Demon Hunters fans on a deeper journey into Korean tradition. Until August 4th, KCC will host a 4-part series of unpacking the cultural roots behind the film's stunning visuals, like the tiger and magpie duo, the gat hat, and the knotted bracelet. It's a celebration of heritage meeting pop culture, and everyone is invited. All events are free at the KCC Philippines in Taguig. And that is it for Money Talks. Do take care out there. It's pretty rainy today. I'm Cathy Yang. Catch us again tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. here on One News. We're also streamed live on YouTube and on our Facebook channels. Take care and have a great day ahead.